Okay. Other things, I guess I just kind of said this, that you can do, you can add some birds. Uh, so this is creative additions that you would see in a tree. Um, to consider the opposition, then you could have this coming out of the bird's mouth or some other words of wisdom as you're looking at the opposite sides. And this is what it looks like then in a student example. So here's the claim, and then here's some evidence that contradicts the claim. Remember, the world is not all black and white. There's gray area. So even when you are trying to convince somebody that your way is the right course of action, there may always, or there probably will always be outliers to what you've decided. And an outlier is something that statistically does not fit in. So we know, for instance, that it is important to get a college education because, in general, people who have graduated and have a bachelor's degree will earn more money over their lifetimes than people who do not have a bachelor's degree. However, outliers to this statistically are people like Bill Gates, who dropped out of college, and what's his face from Facebook, who also dropped out of college, and you probably know people in your life who are doing extremely well financially and personally, but they didn't go to college. Those people are outliers. That means that the majority of people who don't graduate from college don't make as much money as people who do. But there are going to be some people who are exceptions to this. But anyway, that was a really long-winded version of how you fit in those, like, little birdie told me kinds of opposing viewpoints. It doesn't mean that your overall premise or your overall argument is incorrect. It just means that there are other points of view. You can fit in like your overall essay questions, or rather research questions, with like you sitting under the tree. This reminds me of The Giving Tree, if you've read that book, and The Boy. You can color code information on the tree. Just make sure that the way you have color coded is evident somewhere on the front of your poster or attached to your poster. And that is your key. Just like when you're reading a map, you're going to have a key. And you can include comments about the credibility of the sources. If you are reading an academic article that has been peer reviewed, it is extremely likely that everything that is in that article is completely credible. If you are reading a blog, you have to do a lot of digging in order to determine the credibility of the information and the credibility of the blogger, the author of that information, because they can post whatever they want. If you're reading journalistic sources like the newspaper or a magazine, then again, you need to look at credibility. You can make assumptions as to credibility. The New York Times and the Washington Post are extremely likely to be credible sources, although they might make mistakes from time to time and have to print a retraction. Same thing with magazines like Newsweek and Time. But if you're looking at, a political situation, especially because this has been in the news quite a bit, then you're going to have, kind of left-wing journalistic sources and right-wing journalistic sources. And then my recommendation is don't use anything that is really far out there in either direction. Look for more mainstream journalistic sources. But Ms. Frankenberger in the library can really help you with this because she has had the AP research training, and so she can help guide you toward credible sources. And then you can evaluate your own evidence. So you'll notice that these students have said that there's like limited research in some of these areas that they're trying to use. And so although research might point them in one direction, there's really not enough to be convincing, like from different parts of the country. So they're looking at Boca Raton and Lawrenceville, New Jersey, for some information. It looks like retention rates and passing rates on exams, but they know there's not enough research. So they have put that information there on their tree of reasoning, and that's extremely helpful. Okay, so if you want to check out more stuff that Jill Pavich has created, it's there in the Global Pen blog. And you can even find her whole presentation in different places. This is on SlideShare, but you can also find it on her new website, which is called edpioneer.com. And that's about it. Thanks, guys. You're going to make your own tree, but this is a good overview of the information that you need to look for and then the information that you need to include. So when you're looking for it in class, you can make a little key and you can label things, trunk and stuff, but what we're going to do is really just more annotating with pretty colors of highlighters. Thanks.